For more on these issues and even more than that, here's Richard Roth. He's a Democratic strategist and founder and partner of the Roth law firm. Thanks for joining us. Also, Jennifer Kearns, contributor for the Daily Caller and The Hill. Guys, thanks so much for coming on today. I want to start with Jennifer really quick here. As even Emerald was pointing out here, the president holding a lot of White House briefings. How comfortable are we with the White House administration's response at this time?
Well, as of his press conference on Friday, when he declared the national emergency, I feel much more comfortable. But I will say, as a conservative and a pro-Trump for the better part of 3 years, I was deeply disappointed in his response prior to that. I think the administration made some stumbles. Perhaps they didn't know this was going to be as serious as it was. That delay in test kits, I think, was dismal. I think will remain a mark on his political record, inevitably. Him also debating whether or not he himself should take the test. He seemed a little belligerent on that. So the PR grade I gave him for his early first couple weeks was a D-. I think they're up to speed now and moving forward. I think the president shines most when he talks with these CEOs of these grocery stores and these pharmacies, pledging that they will stay open throughout the coronavirus crisis. That's where President Trump really shines. That's where we see his CEO skills really shine. And that is very calming to the American public.
And he has taken the test. His doctor confirms he was negative for coronavirus. Richard Roth, your take on the administration right now?
So Jen and I actually agree on pretty much everything she said. I think what he did until now was abysmal. On January 22nd, when in fact we learned that coronavirus wasn't in the U.S., he said, don't worry about it. It's going to disappear. The number's going to go down. The scientists have said the number's going to go up. He said, don't wait, it'll disappear. He said it in January. He said it in February 22nd. He said it on February 24th. He said it on February 26th, February 28th, on and on and on. In fact, it reached a point where he was the scientist. He didn't listen to anyone. Finally, and here's where Jen and I do agree, he has realized, it took him too long, but we are there, that this is serious. And what he's trying to do is unscramble everything he's done. In 2018, let's not forget, he literally shut down the global health security team. So it took a long time, but we are there. We are still way behind in testing. I do agree with Jen. This is a black mark on his presidency. You know, he worries about the Dow, but we're talking about lives and health here, which is much more serious. So I do think we are in place now. I've listened to a lot of the people, including the Director of Health and Human Services, Dr. Fauci, who's been all over the air. We are finally taking steps. Cities are shutting down. We have to do what's being done in Italy and in Spain, because this is a very, very serious pandemic.
I want to stay on the topic really quick of Trump. Clearly, both of you are very critical of what the president has done in the past versus where we are today. You're not the only ones. I want you to take a look at this image from CNN over the weekend. This is what we call in television the topic banner. It's right there in the middle of the screen, that graphic. It's suggesting President Trump called this a hoax. We know at least 6 other media fact-checking groups know this is false. I want to bring this up because I need to know, why do you think CNN is continuing really its own hoax? That's not even true. Richard, I'll toss this back to you.
Well, he did 3 things. He called it a hoax. He called it fake news. He blamed President Obama. Donald Trump never takes responsibilities for his actions. He's like a little kid. And I think that what's important to realize here is we are about to elect a new president. There will be a different crisis. There will be a different problem. Will he learn from his mistakes? I, for one, don't think so. So the reason why the if you will, the more liberal news, the Democrat, the CNN, the MSNBCs are there is because they're saying, listen, do we want this person for 4 more years? All he cares about, quite frankly, is the Dow. And once he saw the Dow slipping, he started changing his tune. But it's not, this is much bigger than the Dow. This is much bigger than.
I think Richard froze up. Jennifer, you can take that.
Well, look, you know, the president is also in charge of the economy in this country, and if he hadn't reacted to the Dow crashing, there would have been equal criticism. CNN is disingenuous in their coverage here. They know, and it's been widely fact-checked, as you mentioned, that the president was referring to the media coverage of it being a hoax. But look, you look at the other side of the aisle. You look at that debate last night between Bernie and Biden. The choices on the other side are just as abysmal. I mean, even worse than President Trump. You had Joe Biden. They opened the debate with the coronavirus topic.
Oh, by the way,
Joe
they debated
Biden,
last night. No one really knows this, but yeah.
Joe Biden opens the debate by coughing, first of all, repeatedly in the first segment when they're talking about coronavirus. And then secondly, he says, oh, well, Barack Obama and we sure fought that coronavirus. The SARS, the N1H1. He didn't even know what virus it was. So I will take President Trump any day. I do think President Trump learned a great deal last week and over the weekend. He's listening more closely to his health experts. So he has turned a corner on that. And you look at Bernie Sanders, all he could talk about last night was the revolution. When America is in crisis and when we're facing a pandemic and looking down the barrel of possibly 100,000 people losing their lives, according to the experts, you don't want a revolution, you want solutions. And that's where Bernie Sanders is wrong. Both of those guys, by the way, proposed government-run healthcare. If you want what's happening in Italy, great. Vote for one of those guys, because that's what will happen to our nation's hospitals.
Stay on the topic really quick of the debate last night. How is this playing in the forefront of voters' minds right now? It's my understanding that all eyes right now are on coronavirus, not necessarily voting, and you have some considering, I believe Louisiana is not going to be holding, they're pushing off their primary voting, but we have a mini Super Tuesday coming up here. What are we going to see? Yeah,
it's interesting. You know, I was an assistant secretary of state for California administering elections. We've dealt with these things. When I was in the office, we had the highest number of military troops overseas during the war on terror in some of the elections in 2004 and 2006. So we had to come up with creative solutions, how to make sure you have mail ballots, how you make sure people can get those back in time. If elderly folks are afraid to go to the polls, or if they don't know how to get a mail-in ballot so they don't have to leave their house, how can they do that? So these secretaries of states and these registrar of voters in these local municipalities are really going to have to step in here, because we know that elderly 65 and above are the highest number of voters in this country, so it could be quite significant.
And they're being asked to stay home. CDC is asking anyone with a gathering of 50 or above to not have it, to cancel it, so it's going to be interesting to see what's going on here. Stick around for a little bit if you don't mind. We appreciate your time. That is Jennifer Kearns, contributor for the Daily Caller in the Hill. We also had Richard Roth earlier on. We lost some Democratic strategist and founder of the partner of Roth law firm, guys. Thank you very much. We're going to bring them back in just a bit.